Now time is 5:15. So shall we start? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Then we will start. No, that time is. So now my name is Eng.wimalasena gamage. I was the former director of irrigation in irrigation department, and even after I was the president of the IESL in 110th president 2016 and 2017. Now I am retired. Now actually I am freelance consultant, especially in the contract management and dispute management, as well as arbitrator, adjudicator. So my retirement life is like that. So now IESL entrusted me to give the 2 hours lectures about the environment management to help you for appear the B paper, which will be held in 29th September. So I will try to share some thought and concept about the environment management for your examination. So I think you all will get, if there is any queries, you can ask from me. No problem. It is a very friendly subject for all the engineers. So we are during the university. Also, you are familiar, even day-to-day life. So we will start the what are the dia mau mega dua net මොකද ini kali ini dekat Right. Now, sorry for interruption. So we start that. As you know, this environmental. Everybody know what is the environmental, and we can what to call this describe as it consists of all of the external, non-living, and living factors, conditions, and influences that affect the life, development, and survival of an organism or a community. So it is environment at glance, it is very familiar with the interconnected with our day-to-day life. So the National Environment Act, Section 33, define the environment as the physical factors of the surrounding of human being, including the land, soil, water, atmosphere, climate, odors, taste, and biological factors of animals and plants of every description. So it is very comprehensive statement according to the Environmental Act. So interdependence, environment changes, and resilience. Environment is complex system of living and non-living component which interact with each other and respond to change the order to survive. Environment is dynamic and constantly changing. Change occurs as a result of natural process as well as through the human interventions and action. So what is the presently actually mainly because of the human intervention action, we are destroying the environment. Otherwise, environment dynamically consistently changing. So year to year, it is changing. Change occurs as a result of natural process. So now it is actually not only the natural process, mainly because of the human intervention and action. So that's what we need the environment management. Environment changes as a result of natural and human made causes can occur over a short period, volcanoes, or longer period climate change. So it can be short period or climate longer period. As for a short period, for example, volcanoes. Immediately this lava is coming, heated metal from the earth, and or longer period climate changes. So now then the resilience allow the earth to withstand change, and many cases restoration occurs naturally over a period of time. So actually resilience is actually allow the earth to withstand change. So with the change it is stand, and many cases restoration occurs naturally over a period of time. So once this during the Ramralpur area, dry zone in the ancient period. So during the flood time, actually sometimes all these what to call this resources as cultivated lands and houses and everything undergone with the flood water, and then people are vanished, and then later again these people are again resettles. This Anuradhapura, this what you call Ruanalisaya, Jasima, Bodhi around area. Actually, most of the what you call this structures are under the earth, mainly because of flood time. It was covered with the sedimentation came from the flood water. So for a longer period it has happened. Then later when the people are settled again, so they found out what is the underneath of the earth. This is mainly because of the natural disaster. In cases where the damage is too much to naturally restore, the environment evolves and change into different environment. So once the changes of the environment changes, so then sometimes it could be naturally restored, or otherwise environment it was change into different environment. So then it can be mean different environment also. The evolution has meant that different plant and animals species survive and have adapted over a period of time to live in various climatic conditions, including extreme environments such as ice and deserts. So I think we understand as engineers and educated people the importance of the conserving the environment. So which is the other important factor. Our environment is the fundamentally to our survival. It provides us with the various goods and services that support, provide, and regulate our well-being. So, regarding our living standard, we rely on the environment for our lives and will continue to do so in the future. As human beings, to build up the cities and towns, the interconnectivity and functioning of the environment is not obvious. When humans create an artificial environmental, it is felt that the rest of the environment is something that is separate from us, irrespective of where the person lives in a forest or in city. We all have the same basic need: air, water, and food. But nowadays, we are really really interesting about our basic need. That means the air, purified air, not the polluted air, then the water and the foods. Those are the presently, as environmentalists, we are concerned. Then, in this case, so now environment actually because of the urbanization and growth of the society, now there is a need of environment management because sustainability is the most important. So that's what we are interested about the environment management. So what is the environment management? That's what I am going to discuss now. Environmental management is defined as a system that incorporates the process of summarizing, monitoring, reporting, developing, and executing the environmental policies. The aim of encouraging the environment management system is to ensure the healthy state of our planet for future generations. So, right? It also works toward the preserving the whole form of life. So that is the basically environment management expected. It is incorporated with the summarizing what is the present stages, then the monitoring, reporting, and developing and executing environment policies. So to maintain the sustainability, we have to implement the environment management system environment policy. It is ensure that healthy state our planet. So our planet to be a good place for living and for future generation. So in sustainability, we are talking about future generation now. We have to use the partly our resources for our use and balance. This should be kept for the future. It also towards the preserving all the forms of life. In business, environmental management is defined as a corporate strategy, business management that monitors, develop, and implement environment policies of an organization. It is systematic approach that is gaining due prominence as consumers are looking for products and services that are eco-friendly and eco-aware. So very clear, the eco-friendly and eco-aware. The ecological balances of our planet has been disturbed through a technological revolution, heavy industrialization, growth in transportation, unplanned urbanization, and cost exploitation of resources. So that is the most important cause of exploitation of the resources. Ecosystem stability is in the danger as the relationship between human being and the environment has been iterated. So that relationship between the danger human being and the environment is already damaged. The relationship can once again become the harmonious if people start encouraging activities like conservation, regeneration, and protection of the nature. So if people start encouraging activities like conservation, regeneration and protect the nature, then the relationship can be once again become the harmony. So then further we will discuss that what is the environmental management. Environmental management is concerned with marine, land, atmospheric conditions and works toward the issue like deforestation and global warming. It looks at the carbon footprint and tries to find ways to reduce the irreversible damages people are leaving behind. So actually, normally people are always thinking about deforestation and global warming. It is actually, we are actually feeling that. It look at a carbon footprint and tries to find ways to reduce the irreversible damages. එනවාට ප්‍රകൃතිමත් තත්ත්වයට පත් කරන්න බැරි විනාශ people are leaving behind. So environment management is described as a process to minimize the waste and maximize the compliance. It is created to address the environmental issues that have a direct and indirect impact on the globe and is affecting it adversely. It deals in finding appropriate solutions to environmental crises and preventing ecological disasters. So actually, from the environment management, we are finding appropriate solutions to environmental crisis and preventing ecological disasters. Environmental management also investigate potential sources of renewable energy so that fossil fuel does not become depleted. So this environment management also investigate the potential source for the renewable energy, right? So presently we are using the solar power, wind power, then hydropower like that. So then the fossil fuel, what is we are now extensively using the fossil power does not become the depleted. එතකොට අපිට shortage නැතුව ඉස්සරහට ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. Then what is the objective of the environment management? So then there are so many objectives. Identifying the environment issues, right? Then finding solution for the environment issues. So identifying and finding solutions. Then establishing the limit to avoid overuse. Overuse is establish limits to avoid overuse. Help to renew natural resources. Minimize the use of natural resources. Developing monitoring system and research institutions. So now developing monitoring system and as well as research. So research institution will be find the new viable solutions for the shortages. Regeneration of degraded environment. So regeneration regeneration of degraded environment. Review the environmental goals of an organization. When it is come to the organization is reviewing the environment goals, setting environmental targets to minimize the environmental impact of an organization. So regarding the organization, setting environment target to minimize the environmental impact of the organization. So then control environmental pollutions, ensuring the it is very quite clear controlling environmental pollution. Even we are disposing our human waste and material waste everything to the environment. It is actually environment damages. So we are controlling so that. So ensuring the environmental awareness program is being followed by the every employee. So regarding this company, I am calling ensuring environmental awareness program is being followed by the every employee. All the employees of the company must have the idea about the environment management for the sustainability of such a company, even the office, even the production line, for everything, even the hotel, tourism industry, everything. So they should, or the employees should be aware about it. Use the existing technology and try to make the eco-friendly. So technologies are there to protect the environment. So it should be make eco-friendly technologies. make maximum utilization of the natural resources, make maximum utilization of natural resources, assess the impact of potential activities on the environment, encourage resources conservation programs, develop strategy, and improving the quality of life. So actually, when the environment is damaging, our quality of life is day to day, it is going down. So we have to improve our quality of our life. Implement the ways of environment protection. So implement the ways for the environment protection, the methods and other the human intervention and everything must be find out, and then we normally environment protection now should be the participatory approach. Then the implement ways of environment protection, then minimize the impact of natural disaster. So then when with the regarding the environment management, we are trying even company or office or even a village or even the house. So we are trying to natural disaster. Then identify the development, implement policies related to sustainable development. So sustainable development, I think everybody is known about that. So sustainable development means we have to use the whatever we want, not the excessive, and retain the resources for the future generation also. So that is the sustainable development. Development is for the present generation and available adequate amount, not excessive, minimum amount, and then balance will be keep for the next generation. Then we will come to the another point: environmental degradation and pollution. I think everybody you know environmental degradation and pollution. Environment degradation refers to the depletion of the potentially renewable resources such as air, water, soil, forest, and wildlife by using it as a faster rate than it can be naturally renewed. So environment degradation refers to depletion of the potentially renewable resources, right? Then environment destructions has serious and far-reaching consequences, and this impact on both human and the environment may not be immediately obvious. Many different forces contribute to environment degradation. So now these are the things are happening. So then the environment destruction serious as far reaching. So now if when we are drop the release the polluted water to the rivers, then the river will get polluted. Then in the downstream people, those who can't use the water unless purified, as well as for the purification, we have to spend a lot of money. So those things are the problems, right? So then these things are actually impact on these things are actually impact on both human and environment. So then first effect the environment, then the human. So now when you release the polluted water to the rivers, then downstream people sometimes they will drink you and they will be, take the bath and for industry. So even the agriculture. So then they are using polluted water. So that's what to keep the rivers clean. We always has to keep the release the whatever we are releasing in the certain standard, not to pollute the water or river. So like that, then everything is like that. Many different forces contribute to environmental degradation. So there are different forces are there, always contribute to environment. Then the environment degradation and pollution we will continue further. These include direct destruction of peoples and business. So environmental degradation, so direct destruction of by peoples and business, by people and business, while wider institutional policy and target factors, such as weak enforcement of environmental laws. So coupled with failure or relevant agencies to perform their duties. Accelerated the degradation, widespread corruption, and political patronage encourage misuse of the environment, breaking the environment law, changing the consumption pattern and demand, increasing the market integration and globalization. Land pressure and population growth all have an impact on environment. Global and national pressure often encourage development to take place and that are unsustainable, both environmental and economic items. The global and national pressures often encourage development to take place that are unsustainable. Most simple, unsustainable. Unsustainable, we are using the very excessive amount and not keeping the part of that our resources for the future generation, both environmental and economic terms. So then, once we exploit the more excessive, ultimately we are suffering without that. So then, in the water sector, it is there. Even the in the water supply sector also there. Water supply sector mainly because of the human intervention. Most of the water resources are polluted. So therefore, this supply of water to drinking water, purified water, to have many demands. So then we have to spend a lot of money for purification process like that. In the meantime, now we are polluting the resources, so we are losing the sources for future development. Then with that, all these things are happening for the last decades and decades. With that, and there are so many principles and chapters and doctrines are developed mainly because to protect our environment. So one of that is public trust doctrine. That means there are two conceptions of public trust doctrine. There are two concepts. One according to a narrow concept of government deemed to be the trustee of the country's natural resources. Normally, everybody is thinking that government is the trustee of the natural resource. The surrounding environment and such resources must be held or used by the government for the benefit of its people. So normally the government sector is as a custodian and custodian. They help the use the government for benefit of it. So government is using these things for benefit of their people. So in natural, it is wide environmental sense. The concept of public trust expresses that idea that the present generation hold the natural resources in trust for future generation. So natural public trust doctrine means the present generation must hold the natural resources in trust as a trust for future generation. So we බාරයක් විදිහට අපි රැකලා ඒක අපි ඉතුරු කරලා දෙන්න ඕනේ ඊළඟ පරම්පරාවට. So ඒක තමයි public trust එක principle. Then the state of the environment changes. So then the actually public trust doctrine is that. So in the present generation must minimize their usage of natural resources and keep the balance for the future generation. So then environmental changes. So what is the environment changes? How can the state of the environment challenges in Sri Lanka concern air pollution, water and water resources pollution. I think quite understand the soil pollution, noise pollution, mineral extraction, land degradation and energy. Then the waste, solid waste, toxics and sadiat waste, e-waste, disaster, biodiversity and protected area. So, you know, e-waste, what is it is really challenge to our people. Marine and coastal environment. So, marine and coastal environment, I think not necessary to explain further. So, when you see our coastal belt, how it is polluted, and then this what we call this tourist people and others also coming to Sri Lanka is not much like that. So those things are the other things. Then next one is the polluter pays principle. So we discussed the doctrine of the public trust doctrine we considered. Then they can polluter pay principle. So it is subsequent pollution control cost have been borne by the public rather than those who are polluted. So now actually mainly these industrial people and others, they are actually polluting the public resources. So then then polluted by the people, those who are using that like something like some industrial people and various people, they are dumping the waste to the soil. So they are actually doing. So pollution control has cost, that is the cost in all the pollution control cost have been borne by the public rather than those who are polluted. So the polluted people are there, so they polluted and go. So then pollution control cost has been borne public. So now, for example, now during the Sripada pilgrimage period, our people are going there, as then we are polluting our very important place, Sripada. Then, this area people, Pradesh Sabhas, Maskali, Hatton Mill, so they have using the public money to clean the area with the, how to call this, dump material, polythene, and various things. So pollution should be cleared by the area people, that Hatton, Maskali, Hatton, Pradesh Sabha. So then that is the public money. So, but those who are going from here to there are polluting the area. The polluter pay principle, on the other hand, establish the cost of pollution should be borne by the person responsible for the cause in the pollution. So polluter pay principle is actually, the concept is that those who are polluting the area must be pay for that, for the pollution, right? Responsible for cause. So polluter pay principle seek to avoid the result as well as injustice caused by its obliging the polluter to bear the cost of the pollution. So now actually we are encouraging the polluter to pay back their pollution. So the industries also, they now when the industrial dispose their waste material to the river section, so then ultimately public is suffering. So therefore, then now we are formulated the law and order to avoid such a things happening. Then for important laws and institutions in Sri Lanka for the various things. So now those things are, I think, as engineers, you must know that National Environment Act number 47, 1980, and subsequently 58, 1980 amended and regulations. Then the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance number 2, 1937, and amended Act 49, 1992 as a regulations. Then the Forest Ordinance number 16, 1907, very old act and now amended. Amended means not the contents are removing, but new contents are regulations are improved. So to improve the situation, Mahavali Authority, State Land and Ordinance, right? Mines and Mineral Act, Irrigation Ordinance to protect the water and in the water cultivation sector, and Coast Conservation Act, so to protect our, what to call this, coastal belt, and Marine Pollution Prevention Act. So then these acts has to be implemented by the government institutions. So I think you maybe know that the Coastal Central Environment Authority, Department of Wildlife, Forest Department, Mahavali Authority, Land Commissioner, Special Lands, District Secretary, Irrigation Department, Coast Conservation Department, and Coast Conservation Department. So like that. So then these institutions have vested with the certain responsibilities to protect the environment and manage the environmental sector. So then we will just to see that what is the, we are frequently talking about sustainable development. So what is the mean by sustainable development extensively It defines sustainable development as the development that meet the need of present, like us present, without compromising the ability to future generations to meet their own needs. So we must not exploit everything, but only for our our requirement we will consume it, but balance we are keeping for the future generation. So this is actually very old concept developed in even the yeah, there are a lot of stories now, even the America, everything, these things are there. I think not necessary further explanation. A sustainable development has emerged as a new paradigm of development, integrating the economics, growth and social development and environmental protection as independent and mutually supportive elements of long-term development. So now sustainable development is the, even though it is the basic concept is that keep the major portion for the future using the whatever we want, then it is connected with the various other principles of development that will integrate economic growth, social development, and environmental protection as independent and mutually supportive element of long-term development. It emphasized the participatory multi-stakeholder approach to policy making and implementation, mobilizing public and private resources for development, making use of knowledge and skill and energy of all social groups concerned with future and planet and its people. Sustainable is very much about the what kind of legacy we want to leave for our children and generation. මොනවද අපි අපේ අනාගත දරුවන් සහ අනාගත පරම්පරාවෙන් තෑගි වශයෙන් ඉතුරු කරලා යන්නේ මොකක්ද කියන එක තමයි sustainability එකේ main idea. Sustainability is very much about the what kind of legacy පරිත්‍යාගය මොකද්ද we want to leave for our children and generation. Define environment management. The further, I think most of the engineers are they are aware about the environmental management, but further we will concentrate about that. It is a diverse set of activities. So we are diverse some certain activities to environment management. Environment management is not easy to define. So as a Baro has acknowledged, it can refer to the goal or vision to attempt to steer the process to the application of set of tools to a philosophical exercise seeking to establish new perspective towards the environmental and human societies and to much more besides. Then environment managers are a diverse group of people, including academics, policymakers, non-government organization, NGO, workers, company employees, civil servants, and a wide range of individual or group of who make decisions about the use of natural resources such as fishes, farmers, then the pastoralists, and indeed the environment management involve all the people to some extent because of all human activities ultimately have some sort of environmental management is not easy to define. So now basically it is the participatory approach. Environment management is the participatory of each and every person, whether is irrespective of their employment or his education and living standards. Everybody has certain responsibility to protect the environment, that is the environment managers. So then actually it is a participatory approach. Civil servant and wide range of individuals or groups who make decisions about the use of the natural resources such as fishers, farmers, and pastoralists. Indeed, environmental management involves all people to give some extent because of all human activities ultimately have some sort of environmental issues. So now actually those who are with the act and ordinance of passed by the parliament, so there are established some institutions, irrigation department, environment authority, like that. So they have their own responsibility toward the protection of the environment. In the meantime, they have to very coordinated manner, they have to use this thing. So what are the environmental desirable outcomes? මොනවද මේකෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ? What are the physical, economic, social, cultural, political, and technological constraints to achieving those outcomes? So there are these constraints are there. What are the most feasible options for achieving these documents? So in the constraints there, out of which we have to tackle with the participatory approach how to compromise everything. Indeed, in many parts of the world and arguably worldwide, environmental management is intimately linked with the pressing issues of justice and even survival. A further definition might suggest that environment management is concerned with meeting and improving provision for human needs and demands on a sustainable basis with minimal damages to the natural habitats and ecosystem. Thus, the concept of environment management is closely related to another important and problematic concept, that is sustainable development. Actually, environmental management is very interrelated with the sustainable development. Sustainable development means we are developing our country and our lands and our house compound with the keeping the using the whatever you want at present for your living standard, balance keeping for the future generation. So that is the ultimately we are till that. Then, however, some individuals are more directly involved with the resources use. Some people are very difficult to control. They are trying to get the maximum resource, and some special interest group are particularly concerned with the resources exploitation and with issues related to. Then management therefore involves many stakeholders and requires multidisciplinary perspective with many spatial scales ranging from the local to global. It also involves many diverse goals, including the desires to control the direction and pace of development, to optimize resources use, to minimize environmental degradation, and to avoid environment disaster. So management may be practiced by the individuals and groups holding conflicting and even directly opposing views, as many be the case when environmental management employed by large multinational corporation comes into the conflict with the environment managers representing the voluntary organization. So in this case now, for my experience that in 19 somewhere around 1977, so when we joined the irrigation department, so there is a water in these schemes. So then no such a control, no management there now, but people are always trying to get the maximum amount of water more than he want. So these farmers are very what to call uncontrollable. So they are actually taking the water excessive amount. So when we open the canal, so those who are in the beginning of the canal getting the more water, then tail ends are not getting. So we are as officers, we are in problem how to give the water. So then at that time, actually, this participatory approach introduced to the farm organization, establishing farm organization, and we took all the farmers into our management. So then farmers are once before we open the distributed canals and field canals, we took the decision from the farmers how to distribute this water, because limited amount of water, especially Jala and Maha, both. So then we are participatory approach. We discuss with the farmers and with them we distribute the water. That is then sustainable manner. We distributed water started at that time. So then what will happen? Then excessive water is remaining in the tank and whatever needs for the cultivation is issuing. So what is the ultimate? So you know this during the Maha season, my old experience I am telling, during the Maha season, tanks are get full, right? Full, spilling even. Then for the Yala season, no water. So what when we implemented this participatory approach for the water distribution, so then what is happened is part of the water was retained in the tank and used economically for the yellow season. So that is the way even the environment was also same. So then always we have to get the participatory approach with the stakeholders. So now in the universities as well as postgraduate institutions, we actually always teaching this participatory approach for the water sector development. That is the example, right? So the focus on decision making in general, however, environment management is the concern with the understanding of the structure and function of the earth system, as well as of the ways in the human related their active environment. Environment management is therefore concerned with the description and monitoring of environmental changes, with predicting future changes and attempts to minimize the human benefit and minimize the environment degradation due to the human activities. Yet, characteristically, environmental management is about decision making and it is especially concerned with the process of decision making in relation to the use of natural resources, the pollution of habitats, and the modification of ecosystem. So then, this my last example regarding water sector, but when you come to environment, now it is actually not necessary, not easily damage the environment. So now, for example, when you going to have the hydropower station, so we are doing the feasibility studies. With that, we are finding out how it affects the environment, how we affect the present users, and how it affects the future users, and whether it is a exploitation of much more water like that. So otherwise, this power sector people, those who are hydropower generation people, they are trying to get the maximum use of our water. So whether they irrespective to the other people, so like that, then sometimes the anicuts are downstream anicuts are not getting the amount of water. So those things are being concerned at the very beginning. Even this Mahavali, after Polgolla, Victoria, Ranjanigala, after that we are releasing the water to the river, to those who are river water using that downstream people. So for the benefit of them, we are part of the water is releasing. So fundamentally, then environmental management is the political activity because of the decisions about the resources, pollution, and ecosystem, and never neutral neutral objective or country. They are value laden and they reflect the exercise of power by particular group of over the others. Moreover, in general, it is related to the receive the environmental management as being about to simply the management of the environment in the sense of human manipulation and controlling and component of process of the earth system. So of course human to exert such influence on the earth system, but it is falsy to think that human manage, for instance, for populations and humpback wheels. Instead, it is more accurate to suggest that human may be able to make some progress toward the managing human impact on the humpback whales. Ultimately, then, environmental management is more concerned with the management of human activities and their impact then the water, the management of the natural resources. So then, actually with the environment management, we actually start the participatory approach for all the things, we minimize the problem. So to share the things, we develop the what to call with all the stakeholders as well as those who are in the administration section and engineers, everybody's participatory approach for the environment management. Influencing the course of development. Nevertheless, some types of activity are common to environment managers. Environment managers attempt to deliberately to steer the process of development in order to take advantage of opportunities. They attempt to ensure that critical environmental limits are not exceeded. They work to reduce and mitigate environment issues, and they are concerned with increasing the adaptability of and resilience of human societies in the face of environment change, variability, unpredictability, and hazard. From the point of view for environment management may be defined as the system that anticipates and avoids or solve or environment and resources observation issues. From another point of view, environment management may be defined as the process concerned with the human environment interaction which seek the identify. So then actually from any point with this point, actually we are always trying to get the support of the stakeholders for the environment management. What are the environmental desirable outcomes? So, what are the physical, economic, social, cultural, and political and technological constraints to achieving the outcomes? What are the most feasible options for achieving those outcomes? What are environment desirable outcomes? So, actually, we are always trying to find the feasible options. What are the physical, economic, social, cultural, political, and technological constraints to achieving the outcomes? What are the most feasible options for achieving those outcomes? So those are the things actually we are thinking during the process. So you know this, as a young engineers when in 1977 at that time that environmental act is not implemented and not passed in the parliament, then at that time, this Mahali development, when the Kala, whatever went to Kalaya, there is ecological system in the downstream. So village tanks and other things. So at that time, I think there are very big arguments and as well as the dialogue and negotiation. So I can remember that one IMR irregular son, irregular and Gamishana minister and other interested people actually they personally joined together and went to the Mahali area to eyewitness what is happening. So actually, the, under Kalaya, there is a ecosystem. So all the village tanks are there. So with that, their farmers are cultivating. So then some tanks are already cut and open to development. So those problems at that time, I think politicians are also highlight, and then with that actually this environmental activists came to the scene. So those are the things actually participate after for now no such this thing. So all the things are regulated and managed. Indeed, many parts of the world. So then management features of the environmental for your reference. The concept of environmental management act as a tool to improve the environmental performance. So act of environmental management acts, right? Then it works toward the waste minimization. So what is the objective of the act, right? Waste minimization is a systematic approach for the overseeing the environment affairs of an organization. It's a systematic approach. So everybody is realistically understanding. Addresses concern related to the environment through the evaluation of related practices. So then encourage employees to undergo training to achieve the desirable objectives. Helps to determine the impact of objective of product of service. So then actually, at that time, my earlier example, the Mahali at that time, actually, the operators and this even young engineers, they are not much concerned about that, whether it is environment damaging. But thing is this, say they implemented the whatever they get the instruction from the higher authorities, right? So then later it was different. Now all the implemented even administrators, everything will be concerned about according to the Environment Management Act. So according to Act, all the various stages are there. So those stages are achieving start any service. So then advantage of environmental management, what is the advantage? Effective use of the resources, improve the sustainability, help in staying out of trouble, pollution control, improve public images. So improved public, that's the most important. The economic progress and finance. So then the finance was in all. So those are the, so disadvantage in environment management are cost. Cost of developing, monitoring and implementing the effective environment management policies is high. It becomes difficult for every business entity to implement such program in business plan because of the high cost. So this environmental management is not for the government or other organization, but it is actually have been implemented by the various companies and institutions. So therefore, cost is high. So they have to prepare the annual budget cost for the environmental management. Too much of trouble. The environment management system can prove too much of trouble if you are start up a small business entity who have limited resources as its disposal. So now, for example, for the service centers, too much of service centers. Actually, some people are getting some equipment and then they are trying to start service centers in their compound, right? So then the environment management system, there is a certain requirement has to be fulfilled. So therefore, everything cannot be very expensive to purify the water, disposal, and no place to dispose. So most of the time, even the service center people, those who are started arbitrary manner, ultimately force it because of they are not meet with the environment requirement. Then time and resources. The objective of implementing the environment management policies are minimizing that can prove expensive in terms of the effort. Then they learn about environment management system. So now with this all these problems, the environment management systems, EMS, is set out process and practices that enable the organization to reduce its environmental impact and increase its operating efficiency. This site provide information and resources related to the EMS, Environment Management System, for small businesses and private industry, as well as local, state, and federal agencies. So now environment management system are introduced with that actually minimize the, for it is applicable for the all the business people, state, local people, state and federal agency, everything, even provincial council and central government. So therefore, environment management system is applicable to every business people. What is the and what is then what is an EMS? What is the engineering environment management system? Then the cost of benefit of environment management system and international organization for standardization. So then now environment management system for the various countries they have adopted various methods. Now it is internationally standardized by the ISO 14001. So we will briefly go to the what is the EMS. EMS environment system is the framework that help an organization achieve its environment goals through the consistent review, evaluation, and improvement of its environment performance. So now, for the any industry has a relationship with the environment. No? So then the assumption is that consistent review and evaluation will identify opportunities for improving and implementing the environmental performance of the organization. The environment management system itself does not dictate the level of environmental performance that must be achieved. Each organization of environment management system is tailored of its own individual objectives and targets. So now it is the most important. The system is actually not to disturb the people, but to systematically control the environmental and performance. So I think when you read, you understand. And environment management system helps an organization addresses regulatory requirement in a systematic and cost-effective manner. This proactive approach can help reduce the risk of non-compliance and improve health and safety practices of employees and the public. And environment system can also help address non-regulatory issues such as energy conservation and can promote stronger operational control and employees stewardship. Basic elements of the EMS are include the following. So actually EMS is actually for the irrespective of the size of the company or state or other provincial or local institution, it is actually helping to improve their environment system, reviewing the organization environment goals. So every year, every month, the organization is reviewing the environment goals, analyzing the environmental impact and compliance obligations or legal or other requirements. So always environment impacts are compliance. අනුගත වෙනවද කියලා බලන්න ඕනේ. Setting environmental objectives and targets to reduce the environmental impact and conform with the compliance obligations. So environment management system is a framework. So then, like that, it is then analyzing its environmental impact and compliance obligation for legal and other requirements, setting environmental objectives and targets to reduce the environmental impact and conform with compliance obligation, establishing programs to meet these objectives and targets, monitoring and measuring progress in achieving the objectives, ensuring the employees' environmental awareness and competence, and reviewing the progress of EMS and achieving the implement. So even simple activity related with the environmental degradation. So therefore, it is a everybody in if it is a even the house, regarding the house, all the father, mother, and other children, and everybody must get together to keep the environmental healthy environment around your compound. In the office also same, head of department and other people have to get together and find out how you are going to control the environment regarding even the. Not only that, in the development activities also it is same. So then cost and benefit of the environment management system. Internal staff manage time. It represents the bulk of EMS resources expanded by the most organization. Other employees time. External potential consultants assistants, right? Outside training and person. So like that is going. So potential benefits: improved environmental performance, enhanced compliance, pollution prevention, resources conservation, now new customers and markets, increased efficiency and reduced cost, enhance employees' morale, enhance image with the public, regulation, lenders and investors, employees awareness the environmental issues. So those are things are actually. So you know this. I can remember when I was in the department, there was allegation that some organization actually they are producing the what to call things, something like that. Say for the day-to-day drinks and this, you know, that. So then they are actually, their factory is close to the Kalni River, and then they are everything, they are disposed material, they are dumped into the river, even the without any treatment. So then during the rainy season, so whatever all the debris around the what to call it, this factory is coming to the river. So then complaints came, and then as officers we went and inspect. Then we found a lot of these things. So then this people are not thinking about the downstream people using the water. So then actually we have to get drastic action. So when we go there, we find a lot of mistakes by the high officers, because even the auditors and others are regularly inspect the areas. So there is a what to call this environment pollution is there. So this when we inspect the time, in the meantime, I think their parents company from India send some people, because they also about get to know about this pollution problem. So when we go there, their auditors also from the nearest branch, they came, and then everybody was together to rectify this situation. So like that, even it is happening most of the now it is controlled. Then for the engineer environment management system under the ISO 14001, so the what to call this here, I put it the main concern. It is actually the standard to describe is the commitment and policy, then the planning, implementation, evaluation, and review. So those five are always there. The EMS, what is also actually commitment to policy, right? The management committee commits to environment improvements and establish the organization environment policy. The policy is the foundation of the EMS. Actually, policy is the foundation. So the company has the commitment to develop their policy. So that is it. So that is the main important for the environment management system to establish in any company, even the government sector or state sector or anything. In the planning, as organization first identify the environmental aspects of the operations. Environment aspects are those items such as air pollutant and hazardous waste that can have negative impact on people and the environment. So then implementation, the organization follow the through the which action plan using the necessary resources and human, financial, and important component is employees training and awareness. So everybody, all the employees must be have trained. Otherwise, their contribution, their support cannot get it. Then the evaluation and review. The evaluation is the company monitors to operate evaluate whether objectives or targets are being met. If not, the company take the corrective action. Then the review, the top management review the results of the evaluation to see if the EMS working properly, and management determine whether the original environment policy is consistent with the organization value. The plan is then revised the optimize the effectiveness of the EMS. The few review stage create the loop of continuous improvements for company. So like that. So this is the most important. So then I can remember there was when I was in some maybe I can remember Kuhnagala, there was a when there is a campaign from the participant villages as well as other companies that asbestos factory is trying to establish in their close to the even Nestle company. So then we went there, and when we go there, actually we found that how they are activating to establish the factory. So then Nestle company also there, then other they actually touch the ground note also. like that. So many things are we are investigated, and finally we are not allowed to establish that particular, what to call this, factory at that point. So then they were abandoned and went back, right? So like that, then recommendation of establish effective EMS government institutions. So institutions are always involved with the environmental protection, even the any sector. So even the electricity board, water supply, irrigation, and all the people. So then for that, I think these points are very important for the government sector organization as well as private sector. Proper training established EMS should be given to all relevant employees of government sector institutions, and the knowledge about the ISO 14001, including like this. Wait a minute. Sorry. So I'm sorry for the interruption. There was a power cut, power failure. Then now it's okay. Now actually recommendation establish effective EMS government institution. We are actually I point out some few things for your knowledge and understanding. Proper environment task group should be created to include the various positions of the organization, structure, or institution. Continuous audit and review on implementation of the EMS should be done periodically at the proper time. Establishing the post of an environmental officer for each institution should be done to coordinate all the environmental program. So even now for the construction projects, uh, for each and every construction of project management office, there is an environment officer normally appointing. The attitude of the employee should be improved to protect the and conserve the environmental of the institution while considering it a part of the duty of the bearing post. Special attention to be paid for integrated water management and solid waste management. Then energy saving through the exploring energy efficiency lighting solution can be alternative energy sources. Reduce the proper paper waste to the paper consumption and promoting recycling whenever possible practical. Carbon footprint, the amount of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere as a result of the activities of the particular individual, organization, or community. Calculations process to track our performance and benchmark our progress against our peers in the industry. Sustainable lending or green loans such as leading non-conventional renewable energy sector or green energy loan schemes for individuals, engaging the customers to enabling them to mitigate toward the more eco-friendly business practices, and environment of CSR project to identify and address official ecology changes that are likely to be causing destructions. Then adopting 360-degree sustainability metrics that begins with the stakeholder engagement mechanism, where key sustainable trends and identify. So those things are everything is there. I think you all can read it for your knowledge. So I am not going to ask everything in the exam, but as a EMS, you have to understand that. So then, you know this as a water sector man, I always thinking about the environment management is trying to link with the water, so not only water sector man, it is actually related to the water sector. So therefore, in recent past, that Dublin principle was established for better water management as well as environment protection. So then this Dublin principle, I think, respect of the engineers or everybody should know, fresh water is a finite and vulnerable resources essential to sustain life, development, and the environmental. Water development and management should be based on a participatory approach. As I repeatedly told you that EMS system is actually involved in the participatory approach. The participatory approach involving users, planners, and policymakers at all levels. right? Stakeholder, user is a stakeholder, in planners and policymakers. So it is a this in Dublin principle entrusted the participatory management. Women play a central part in the provisions, management and safeguarding the water. Actually, we are here this what to call this woman. Ladies are playing a big role in the participatory approach in the water sector as well as in the Dublin principle also. Then it is understand water as an economic value and should be recognized as economic good. So that means not the sold the water for the money, but it is economic value and should be recognized as economic good. So that means the value of that is that such a manner. Therefore, it is not meaning economic value means not meaning to make a sell the water for the money, but it is actually given the importance of the water with the economic value because everything is depend on the economic situation. So then now Dublin principle, four principles, I think you must be keep in your mind mainly because of the when you answer the questions you can what to call this incorporated those policies also. Then another important principle is integrated resources management. So it is, I think, water sector engineers are they are very much familiar with that. Even they are not only water sector, other engineers also must be aware about the integrated resource management, even to your day-to-day life work, everything. It is a process which promote the coordinated development and management of water, land, and related resources in order to maximize the resultant economic and social welfare in an equitable manner without compromising the sustainability vital ecosystem. So that is actually understanding without sustainability of the vital ecosystem, everything is there, resultant economic and social welfare in equitable manner. So integrated was a management concept which also is based similar to sustainable development. Uh, sustainable development. Uh, Sustainable development and on three pillars such as society, economy, and environment. Then therefore, there is hardly any difference between the concept of sustainable development and integrated resource management, except the perhaps latter especially refers to water, land, and related resources. So, Dublin principle also behind that. Then the pollution of water is as well as disposal of the solid waste affecting the environment and seriously. Today, most countries are placing unprecedented pressure on water resources. The global population is growing fast and estimated the world will face 40% of shortfalls between the forecast demand and available supply of water by 2030, right? So now climate change, flood damages, drought pose the fragmentation of the it also constrain water security. Therefore, the advanced integrated water resource management promote the coordinated development and management of water, land, and related resources in order to maximize the economics and social welfare in equitable manner without compromising the sustainability of the vital ecosystem. So this integrated resources management is very familiar with the government sector. So you know this regarding water. Mahavali water, irrigation water, everybody, all the water is actually distributing among the drinking, cultivation, and industries with the integrated water resource principle because actually at the very beginning of the year, so we are forecasting the availability of water and then how it distribute among the all the sectors. So now in the Mahavali and irrigation sector, to share the Mahavali water, there is a annually meeting in the Gannour two times a year. before you start the Maha cultivation and before the Yala cultivation, evaluate the situation. So then all the officers are coming there and then sharing their experience and availability water, and then plan the whole cultivation system. Even the power sector, they are in the Maha sector, they are using the water for power sector development, power sector work, and then release into the what to call this cultivation. Actually, first priority cultivation, and the as a byproduct, this in exceptional cases they use the not use the water for the water sector, sorry, power generation. So then those things are very, very coordinated manner it is doing. I think most of you are aware about that. Then the basic attributes underlying these pillars of both sustainable development integrated resource management are very similar. For example, equity, gender, inclusive in development, and the participatory approach in decision making is identified as a key areas under the society-wide principles of cost recovery, polluters pay, and financial sustainability are considered prime on the economics. The environment concern, including environmental protection, including action to reduce the generation of waste. What is the cross-cutting issue in all goals, whilst some of the targets identified in each goal are directly related to water resource development and management. So actually, my experience is last few years I was discussing this subject as well as as examiner. I had the opportunity to mark the papers. So I think most of the our candidates, so they are not forget about the basic Dublin principle and integrated management concept. So we can, when you write we are not directly asking the what is the Dublin principle, what is the integrated management. But thing is this, now you all when you write the very simple questions we are asking, these things has to be included in appropriate manner in your essay. So then we understand that you are writing this essay with the understanding. So those are the things. Then the other one is the green economy and sustainable development goals. I think these are, I think when you read it, you will understand the renewable energy, solar, wind, geothermal, marine, including wave, biogas and fuel cells, renewable energy. Then green buildings. So in Sri Lanka, the always renewable energy is in top priority. Green building, green top fix and energy for water efficiency, residential and commercial assessment, green product and material and lead construction, clean transportation, alternative fuels, public transport, hybrid and electrical vehicles, car sharing and carpooling programs, water management, water reclamation, grey water and rainwater system, low water landscaping, water purification, storm water management, all those things are known. Then the waste management, recycling, municipal solid waste salvage, brownfield land remediation, support, super fund, cleanup, sustainable packages. So waste management also now given top priority. Then land management, organic agriculture, habitat conservation and restoration, urban forestry and parks restoration, all those things are there. So in this level, this I want to just to share some thoughts of current status in water resources management in Sri Lanka. It is important to review the present status of water resources along with this institution structure in Sri Lanka before suggesting the strategies to be followed in view of the sustainable of the resources. Then what available to Sri Lanka, I think I just put up the summary of the water availability. You know the 103 rivers and all those things. So just read, then you can understand. So when you write the USA's answers, so you can include some people are actually when they are selected this environment management and resources management related question, but they are not keeping in their mind what is the basic statistics. The per capita water availability would be about 2,500 cubic meters, with the population peak about 21 million by 2025. Therefore, Sri Lanka can be considered a country with sufficient amount available water. However, this will be spatial and temporal. So those things have to be keep in mind. Then integrate approach to water management and solid waste management. Solid waste management has become one of the burning issues of the worldwide. So, urbanization and rapid population growth have increased the quantity and complexity of waste generated. The inefficient management, improper disposal of solid waste have created negative impact sustainability of the environmental. Therefore, finding an integrated and holistic approach to managing solid waste in an environmentally, socially, financially, and economically feasible manner is essential. Then EMS should be take these important aspects positively. Then water sustainable development. What is that? The co-sustainable development and critical for social, economic development, healthy ecosystem, and for human survival itself. It is vital for the reducing the global burden of disease and improving the health, welfare, and productivity of populations. It is central to the production and preservation of host benefit and service of people for the people. What is about the heart of the adaptation of climate change, serving as the crucial link between the climate system, human society, and environmental. What is the finite and irreplaceable resources that is fundamental to the human well-being? It is only renewable, it will be managed properly. Today, more than 1.7 billion people live in the river basin where depletion to the use exceed natural resources, a trend that will see two-thirds of the world population living in water-scarce countries by 2025. Water can pose serious challenges to sustainable development, but manage efficiently and equitably. Water can play a key sustainable uh, inherent role in strengthening this economic and environmental system in light rapid. So then managing water by environmental is the other most important things that conform vision for water management and the value of water, understanding change of water availability and demand over time, determining the allocation of water between the users, ensure effective water policies and institutions, plan, monitor, and deliver water for the environment, access and improve system effectiveness and efficiency. Globally, provisions and management of water for the environment needs to be urgently improved. These facts provide examples that demonstrate how practical action recognizing the water demand dependent value, better management infrastructure, and reforming the allocative and other management system, for example, can deliver progress in both the near and long term. Importantly, this guide demonstrates that managing water for the environment can deliver not only environmental benefit but economic and social and cultural ones. So, uh, you have for your knowledge and to improve the knowledge, you have to think about what is the water for the environmental, what is the water for the environment important, how does managing the water for the environment deliver benefits, what need to be considered when managing water for environment, a framework for effective management of waste water for the environment. Management of water for the environment must occur within the water resources planning framework that accounts for all water user in the given basin. Estimate. The best approach for managing water for environment will be based it, upon the fundamental of effective management of water for the environmental in a way that always for difference, providing the guidance that is applicable to the malpractice scales and recognize the financial, political, and human resources constraints within which all decision make must operate. This body of this guide set out the economic element of effective management of water for the environment. So these are for your knowledge. The element of show that the approach managing water for environment. These things are just you read it because time is passing. So then you will improve knowledge. The fundamental effective managing water for the environment is confirm the vision for water management and the value of water maintaining system. Health is a sustained effect that demand similarly long-term vision for outcomes from water management. Identify the stakeholder groups and understand their values. Stakeholders are individuals, groups, or organizations that have an interest or are affected by the particular issues. Human 1984 facilitate the agreement on the need for and benefit of change manager members of the public are often unaware that they live in the modified natural world, understand changing water availability demand, determine the allocation of water between the users. So that is the most important. Then the World Water Day, accelerating the previous year one action plan. Then role of engineering in sustainable water management. That is the thing I want to focus to you. This is very important. The recognition of the limits of resources is almost as old as the realization that the planet is a sphere leading concern about sustainable resource management. Water resources in particularly receiving the growing attention given its uneven distribution in many parts of the world. Engineering solutions to address water management challenges played significant roles in the past in areas such as access to the clean water and sustainable, providing water for irrigation, offering protection against flood, and allowing power generation. Despite the proven benefits, engineering solutions are receiving increasing criticism due to their negative environmental and or social impact and the high cost of their implementation and operation. So more reliance on ecosystem service as an alternative is often advocated as a mean to achieve more sustainable water management solution that key water service that human societies rely on and feasible roles for economic can play in lieu of engineering solutions that applies the balance triangle of the planetary ecosystem and human social resources and asset as a basis for the evaluating the different water management strategies. The ultimate goal of action is to offer guidance for finding the better balances, deploying the ecosystem based and engineering solution together with satisfying the need of human societies via minimizing the impact of the ecosystem. So these are the role of engineering sustainable development. So this is the what I collected and my thoughts, but you can originate your own this thing. So normally we are asking the as engineer what is the all you have to pay in sustainable water management. So then you can, with your experience, you can give the very realistic answers. Then abiotic, planetary, and biotic ecosystem are balanced triangle. So this is for your knowledge. Then the key water related services are domestic water supply, wastewater management and sanitation, water storage, irrigation, flood management. Respect to the role that engineering versus ecosystem solutions play in providing these services and their impact on the planetary and ecosystem survival, agricultural water use, and food management. So those things you can read a little more from the papers, and then you develop your what you call facts, and then you can, when you write the answers, you will be benefited that. So then, as a summary, water engineering has a long history for serving human needs and is essential for the civilized life. Although only minority of mankind enjoys the full benefit of the pipe water presently, decent sanitation, irrigated agriculture supported food security and food protection. Ultimately, one would hope that access to this service will be the norm for growing number of people, while ecosystem service might play a role in complementing engineering infrastructures. The dominant means to provide comfortable living environment to humans, especially in the overgrowing urban settlement, will rest on the continued use of engineering solution. So actually, when you in the water sector, any sector, when you are doing a good work, then you will be happy at the end of the day, as well as end of the year, as well as end of your career. So then your dedicated service is most essential. Then the heavy reliance of ecosystem service is clearly not an option, as the history of engineering shows, since the need of engineering demonstrably rose to the bypass ecosystem and social responsibility. Everything is included for your knowledge. So now I think you can read it. Then rapid urbanization. So then we have to think about this. Actually, this I just include these two because these things, because many people and politicians and always thinking about how the world could look in 2050, and unless we are at now. So now water solutions, water problems, and sustainable development, everything is thinking. Therefore, I just put it these things there for your interest, and then it is given the very good intention. The continued destruction of nature across the planet will result in major shocks to food supplies and safe water. So the disappearance of the unique species and the loss of landscape central to human culture and leisure by the middle of the century, experts have warned. So that is, the experts are telling what are the our future problems. By 2050, if humanity does not follow through and commitment to tackle the five main drivers and nature loss, critical natural system could break down just as the human population is projected to peak. The leading scientists, indigenous leaders, and conservationists around the world about the consequence of inaction on biodiversity loss by the middle of the century, despite 1 million plant and animal species at risk extinction and the face of wildfire, flood, and extreme weather intensifying due to the climate crisis, nature conservation is increasingly becoming a part of the culture wars ranging in many countries, which have spread opposition to many environmental policies. So those are the predictions. Then humanity has cleared about third of all forest for farming over past 10,000 years. Researchers, estimators, destroying the ecosystems such as tropical rainforest, which are being among the most biodiverse on the planet. But experts warn that unique arid landscape are also at the risk. Emma Archer, a professor of the geography and environmental science at the University of Pretoria, said that South Africa thorough landscape is changing, shaped by change in the farming system, increased investment in mining and renewable energy, and the climate change. Unless we better understand just how these different factors are interacting to impact the precise biodiversity landscape, including one of the most biodiverse desert economies in the world, the outcomes will be served. Then the rising temperature, prolonged droughts, and extreme climate events are already modifying the consequences of land use change and often interlink with other drivers of biodiversity loss. Once research from the Brazilian Amazon indigenous Pancarawa people, if we do not take the necessary action to conserve the biodiversity, the world future and that of our people can describe in one word: desert. The Brazilian Amazon, where my people live, would become the desert if the global economic system is continues to prioritize exploitation and profit over health and our planet and people. If we don't shift the current course of development now, it will be the end of our knowledge, practice, and traditions that animals, planets, and the climate depend on. The natural habit where many crop species grow. So those are the then the other thing about Hazelnut, an invasive species native in South America uh, that was introduced to Africa uh, as ornamental plant. It has since choked many waterways such as Lake Victoria, but it is now being used as animal food supplement. Invasive species have become the threat to that project set in the provisions. One invasive alien species will have replaced the unique local ecosystem, causing some native species, especially to the endemic and Chile, to go extinct. The others strongly reduce their members. Invasive alien species will have replaced the unique local ecosystem, causing some native species to go extinct. So then invasive gases will continue to contribute to the combustion of the forest fires. Coastal invasions will further threaten fisheries. Climate change is probably going to expand northward against zebra mussels and other invaders in the Great Lakes. And there are special concern about the vulnerability of the Arctic in general. He said the entire ecosystem will change without the intensification of the control effect. So we also having some experience that Nidukumba, Visarvamani Nidukumba, the plant is in our resource also. So those things are common for all the countries. Then global cooperation is crucial. So researchers estimated that human would need 1.7 planet Earth to sustain the current rate of consumption with more resources required for the green energy transition. Experts say mining firms need to find new extraction methods and that minimize the damage to nature. Dr. Charles Barber, senior biodiversity advisor at the World Resources Institute, said that the boom is mining for the green energy transition will send mine into the last biodiversity refugees over the next 25 years. Those materials will be you get dug up and we need them to avoid biodiversity and we need to develop ways to minimize the different from the environmental and social destructive method of yesterday and today. Giovanni Pascual from the Pacific Center of the Climate Change said that population growth and urbanization would put further strain on demand for resources if not managed properly, adding that proper management should ensure their there was space for nature in the urban areas. So if we do not take the necessary action to conserve the biodiversity, the world future, and that our people can be described in one word, desert. Pascal said more than two-thirds of the projected population of 10 billion people will live in the cities by 2050. This will increase the energy requirement to manage the growing complexity of urban metabolization. Cities will also increase demand of the extraction of natural resources with dire risk over the health and ecosystem. A growing share of the population will discount from nature, both physically and psychologically. If we do not act effective now, the protect and enhance urban biodiversity, the speaker said that we will likely see more serve human suffering, especially by the world most vulnerable and urban inhabitants. So climate shift like heat waves could restrict the ability of people to work outdoor and in extreme cases, but live at the risk under 2050 climate scenario developed by the NASA. Continuing growth of the greenhouse emission at today's rate could lead to additional global warming about 1.5 degree Celsius by 2050. Climate shift like heat waves could restrict the ability of people to work outdoor and extreme cases, but those things are just to your knowledge. And continued emission of greenhouse gases will lead to further climate changes. Future challenges are expected to include the warmer atmosphere and warmer and more acidic ocean, higher sea level, and larger challenges in the participation pattern. So this everything is actually stress the need of economic environment management. So when you consider the climate change in Sri Lanka, so 2025, so this Mali Development Ministry already prepared the program. So with that as a small island and developing nation, Sri Lanka is highly vulnerable to the adverse effect of climate change. Consequently of climate changes such as temperature rise, rainfall variability, and sea level rise are critically affecting almost all economic sectors of the country. Occurrence of the natural disaster due to extreme weather conditions such as prolonged droughts, flash flood, and landslide deprive lives in the livelihood of people. Ratification of the Paris Agreement further to the United Nations framework. So now these things are now we are experienced even last few years also. Convention on climate change in UNFCCC are more steps forward committing Sri Lanka to address climate change and related issues. Although mitigation of greenhouse gases is the highlighted portion of the Paris Agreement, we still believe that building resilience on vulnerable commitment and ecosystem of climate change effect within the broader framework of sustainable development could be a priority as a developing country. So then, recognizing these responsibilities, the government of Sri Lanka has launched the National Institute Initiative for the Facing Threat of Climate Changes. I am happy that Ministry Secretary at that time said that Mahal Development has played the leadership role in the effort, and they actually programmed the National Adaptation Plan for Sri Lanka, identified the areas like agriculture, fisheries, water, human health, coastal and marine ecosystem and biodiversity infrastructure, and human state settlement as the most vulnerable sector to the adverse effect of climate change. The plan provides for the opportunity for all the stakeholders for developing policies, strengthening cooperation, institutional setup, resources mobilization, and technological development, and transfer awareness and capacity building of increase the resilience of the vulnerable commitment areas such as country. So everything you can just read it. Everything you need is actually is stress the need of environment management. So now already these publications are there, Mali Ministry. So you can just read it to more knowledge. This National Adaptation Plan for Climate Change. So you can read it and get the ideas what is there. Then these things are so ultimately it mentioned about the structure of institution and coordination mechanism. Actually, it is a coordination mechanism and is the most important for the environmental management. So now, actually, in your target is to get to the what to call this B paper. So always keep in your mind what is integrated also management of being principles and present development and how the Sri Lanka the officers and engineers have worked to avoid such problems in Sri Lanka. So now our situation not such vulnerable, but we have to manage it, and now we are managing. So therefore, you take it in mind and then get the ready with the. Actually, normally when you write your essays, you must include the hydrological data, how many rivers there are and what is the availability of water, all those things. And then with your experience, you can commit certain things like the participatory approach and then your suggestions also. So I am not hesitating to give the marks because of mainly as engineers, we must fully aware about what is happening in Sri Lanka and how we contribute, because actually as a water sector engineer, what I'm saying is as engineers, we should not wait till the problem comes, but we must think about what is will be happen in future. So then you will be gaining the professionally recognition in the society, as well as you can serve your community, farming community and other people also. So therefore, this is the most important. So work in the various places in Sri Lanka and facing the drought problems and drought management. With the experience of drought management, I know that when you are do the hard work and how people appreciate in you. So then I was at Ampara, Anuradhapura, Padaviya, Bakamona, various places and difficult areas, but we managed the water and given, especially we are supporting the farmers. So finally, once we done that, because like the people farmers are appreciating that our contributions. Therefore, I think as an independent engineer, you think about how this environment management system should be developed, especially when you are thinking about the environmental management. You can't forget about our resources, water, and pollution of water and other things. So therefore, I little bit read little bit, but very concise manner you can answer the questions. The content is the most important. So important points you will include. That's all I can tell you. So I think wish you all the best for all the candidates. So get to the B paper. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One question, Engineer
Yeah,
Gamage.
yeah.
Will this be available? These slides will be available at the
Yes, yes.
institute?
Now itself I will send to the Sanjeeva. Sanjeeva
Right.
will be put it in the web page. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.